All right, let's jump right in. I want you to imagine you're sitting in the driver's seat, but you're not driving. I am. I'm a self-driving car. And as we're cruising along, what's actually going on inside my head? How do I see the world? And more importantly, how am I processing literally billions of data points every single second just to make sure I don't hit that telephone pole right over there? Well, today, we're going to take a peek inside my mind.
So to really get what it takes for me to navigate your world, you've got to see it through my eyes. Or, well, through my sensors. So for the next few minutes, forget what it's like to be a human driver. Let's go on a little journey through my world of processors, sensors, and pure logic.
Okay, first things first. Before I can even think about making a decision, I have to see what's around me. But here's the thing. My senses are, well, they're nothing like yours. They have to be incredibly, almost superhumanly precise. Why? Because out here on the road, the margin for error is basically zero.
Let's start with something you've probably done 1,000 times, trying to squeeze into a really tight parking spot. It's a great example of how different we are. You use your eyes. Maybe you crane your neck, you kind of feel where the car is. Me, my choice is a little different. Do I listen for the curb using sound, or do I see it using radio waves?
So let's break that down. A lot of older systems use what are called ultrasonic sensors. You can think of it like a bat's sonar, It sends out sound waves, and they're okay, but they have their limits. They can't really see anything closer than about 10 or 15 centimeters, plus a little bit of dirt or fog can totally throw them off. Now, what I use is called millimeter wave radar. It's totally different. It sends out tiny radio waves, and it works perfectly in any weather. And the best part? It can detect something just 4 centimeters away. That precision, right there, is the difference between a perfect parking job and a really nasty scratch on the bumper.
Okay, so parking's one thing, but the open road at high speed, that's a whole different ballgame. And this, right here, gets us to one of the biggest, almost philosophical arguments in my design. Is it better for me to try and see the world exactly like you do, like a human, or should I be using a whole suite of senses that you don't even have?
So, on one side of this big debate, you've got the pure vision camp. This is the philosophy that Tesla is famous for, right? The thinking goes something like this. Humans drive pretty darn well with just 2 eyes and a brain. So, if I have 8 cameras giving me a full 360-degree view, plus a super powerful AI brain, I should be able to learn to see and react to the world just like a person.
And you know what? It's a pretty compelling argument. It makes a lot of sense. But if I'm going to bet everything on just my cameras, we have to ask a really important question. How good is my vision, really? I mean, how does my best camera actually stack up against the incredible biological machine that is the human eye?
Well, the numbers here really tell the whole story. My best, most advanced front camera, it's got an impressive 5.4 million pixels. That sounds like a lot, right? But your eye has around 120 million photoreceptor cells. I mean, that's just a staggering, mind-blowing difference in the sheer amount of information we can gather.
Yeah, you heard that right. Your eye is more than 22 times more sensitive to light and detail than my absolute best camera. It means you can pick up on tiny, subtle changes in brightness or see fine details that my sensors might just miss. And that huge gap is exactly why so many engineers argue that I need other senses, like LiDAR, which uses lasers to paint a 3D picture of the world, just to have a safe, complete, and redundant view of everything around me.
So seeing the world is one thing. That's just half the battle. But what happens next? You've got to process all that information and make the perfect decision, like instantly. And to do that, you need a brain that can work flawlessly under intense pressure every single time.
Now, you might be picturing one giant supercomputer in my dashboard, running the whole show. But it's actually not like that at all. My nervous system is more like a team of specialists. It's a network of over 100 smaller, dedicated computers. They're called ECUs, electronic control units. And everything from my brakes to my windows to my advanced safety systems has its very own little computer in charge. But for a network like that to be truly safe, every single one of those 100-plus chips has to be basically indestructible. They can't just be regular computer chips. They have to pass this incredibly tough certification called AEC Q100. Honestly, you can think of it as the Navy SEAL training for electronics. It's a brutal series of stress tests that proves a chip is tough enough and reliable enough for the road.
And this standard, it's not something they just came up with and forgot about. It's constantly evolving. What you're seeing here is basically a report on how that standard is changing. As I get more complex, the rules for my components get even stricter. It's all about making sure my entire electronic nervous system is as close to fail-safe as humanly possible. So what does tough enough actually mean? Get this. My chips have to work perfectly in temperatures from a bone-chilling -40°C all the way up to a blistering 125 degrees. They have to survive constant shaking and rattling day in and day out for 10 to 15 years without a single failure. To put that in perspective, your smartphone would literally melt or just die under these conditions.
So, okay, I've got these incredible senses, I've got this super tough brain, but who actually builds me? Well, the truth is, I don't come from just one factory. My existence is the result of this huge, sprawling, global ecosystem of companies, an ecosystem that's been planning for me to show up for decades.
And the demand for all these special parts, it's just exploding. I mean, the market for the chips that go inside me is growing more than twice as fast as the market for all other computer chips combined. That insane level of demand, that's the real reason you've been hearing so much about car chip shortages over the last few years. The world wants cars like me, and it wants us now.
And this just goes to show, I didn't just appear out of nowhere. What you're looking at here is a technical roadmap from way back in 2012. Over a decade ago, they were already laying out the step-by-step plan for developing my core systems. You can see the strategy right there, moving from just trying to make the parts to optimizing them to work together perfectly. My entire future was being mapped out when some of today's fanciest smartphones were still just a sketch on a napkin.
All right, so we've looked at my superhuman senses. We've seen my incredibly tough, reliable brain. And all of this, it all builds up to one final and honestly, the most important question of all.
Everything we've talked about, the advanced radar, that super rugged brain, the decades and decades of planning, it all comes down to this moment. I am designed to perceive, process, and act with one single goal in mind, keeping you safe. I don't get tired. I never get distracted by a text message. I'm always watching. So the real question isn't about me. It's not, is the technology ready? The real question is, are you? Are you ready to hand over the wheel?